Welcome to Navigating the Mess with me, your host, Lia Nistico. I'm here to inspire you to find greatness in your life amidst all the chaos. Join me while I talk about my real life stories and finding out who I truly am beneath all the challenges life can throw you. Let's find connection in our chaos. Welcome back. I just want to start off by saying how thankful I am and grateful I am that everyone is tuning in and wants to listen, and that I have a platform that I can be me on fully and do the things that I love and I'm passionate about. And I'm just very thankful for that. So this is the second episode and I'm excited to be here. This episode is pretty in-depth. It's a lot for me. I'm just going to dive in right away. So from my experience, eating disorders can be misunderstood by the public. They are not for attention, and you cannot just magically get better by eating. There's more to it than that, than what meets the eye, and nobody talks about it. So let me tell you how deep an eating disorder can go. For me, it stems back to many years before it actually entered my life. As a child, going back from episode 1, I was a year and a half, right, when my mom left my dad. So I feel like that's where it all started. Right away, we became a mixed family. So what a mixed family is two different families coming together and becoming one. And that is extremely difficult for everyone involved. There's a lot of stress because you weren't a family. You were two separate families joining to be one. And I feel like if both parents parent differently, then there's going to be some conflict. If they didn't talk about what their parenting techniques were at the beginning, then there's obviously some more conflict with that. From my personal experience from a mixed family, it wasn't the greatest. It was really stressful, chaotic, and a lot of pain involved. Right away, being a year and a half, having my dad being in the picture and then never being in the picture again is like a huge transition. Even being that young, I remember talking to my dad and him saying that he thought because I was so young that I wouldn't remember and I would just think that my stepdad was my dad. But a baby knows who their dad is, who their mom is, and who isn't. So being that young and having a new guy enter your life is huge, as well as a new home. So everything was normal until it wasn't, and then everything is new. I spent a lot of my life, as I was told, crying a lot because of the transition. I went from having one brother to 3. And I went from living with my mom and my dad and my brother to my grandma, my aunt, my mom, a new guy, my brother, 2 other brothers. That's a lot. That's a huge transition right there, right? So going with how they parented is like a touchy subject, of course. They also did life for the first time, right? They've never gotten a divorce before and they've never decided to have a mixed family. So all of this is new for everyone. To me, I believe that they feel that they did the best that they could at the time. But from my experience only, it was really hard. There was a lot of conflict with siblings because it's not normal to be all of a sudden living together and you didn't even know who they were before. It was exciting because you have new people living in your house, but there was also a lot of conflict too. The dynamic of our household was very every man for themselves. There was a lot of comparison between siblings or children. For me, it felt very alone. Having 3 older brothers, they all got to play together and be together. They all had the same interests. That was hard being the youngest sister. I liked girly things and I liked Barbies. And so obviously they wouldn't want to play with me. And being the youngest, they just weren't interested. So that was, for me, that was hurtful. And I tried really hard to fit in, which was putting my likes and dislikes on the back burner and only doing what I feel like they would want for me in order for them to like me. My parents were, or my mom and my stepdad were newly dating. So that was really hard for them. You know, coming together and freshly dating, that's exciting, you know, and it's fun and you always just want to be together. And I get that. But having children involved, it's a different, that's a whole different ballgame right there. And you have priorities and you have like responsibilities, you know? And to me, your children came first in your life before this person, so they should still come first. And from my experience, that's not how things played out. My parents spent a lot of time together and I felt very left out. I always wanted someone to play with, and if my brothers weren't playing with me, naturally I assumed my mom would want to play with me or be with me or do anything. And that didn't happen unless I was doing something that she liked to do, watching soap operas or like cooking and stuff like that. I don't think as a kid or as a child that I was necessarily interested in those things, but any time I got to spend with my mom, I loved, and it was special and I looked up to her. I took it all in. But there was a lot of competition between me, my brother for my mom's attention, and me and my stepdad for my mom's attention. And a lot of the times I got kicked to the side, unfortunately. So I spent a lot of my time alone in my room playing by myself, and it was very lonely growing up. I did have friends, and any weekend I could go to their house for a sleepover, I did, and it felt like I had a sister, and that was just like the best thing ever. Having close relationships with friends really helped. So growing up now into preteens, there was a lot of fighting and a lot of teasing. A lot of the times I heard boys will be boys. To me, I really don't like that saying because it kind of excuses their behavior, you know? So that was an excuse I feel was used a lot just so that there didn't have to be any discipline involved. That would make me feel very like nobody has my back and nobody's listening to me. I'm not being seen. I had to figure out how to survive in a house like that. I had to put my stuff on the back burner, my thoughts and my feelings and what I liked a lot of the time on the back burner just to fit in and just to survive. I had to retaliate and act like how normally I don't think I would have acted in a way like that to survive. Not only did I have to deal with bullying and teasing and stuff like that at home, I also went to school and had that happen to me there. I would come home and tell my mom about it, and what I would hear is, you need to let that stuff roll right off of you. It shouldn't bother you. Let it not bother you. Grow a thicker skin. And a lot of comparison of when I was growing up, I used to get beat up a lot, and so I needed to grow a thicker skin. That's why she said that I needed to. Again, it felt like nobody had my back and I needed to have my back. But I was young, I was a kid. It felt very lonely. How I survived all of that was I found happiness in eating. I would be depressed and eat and I would be happy. And you know what? I don't think as a child I 1 + 1 = 2. I'm depressed. What makes me happy is food, so now I'm going to eat. It just organically happened like that. And over time, obviously, you start eating more and you start gaining weight. Then I noticed a lot of comments were being told to me by family members, by people who were close to our family, and by people at school. I assumed that if I'm getting bigger, that's wrong and I shouldn't be getting bigger. In which case, my mom thought it was healthy and a good idea to go on a diet with me. There was diet culture heavily in my house, and she decided she wanted to work out with me. In doing that, she probably felt she was doing the right thing. But restricting my food or, making two separate suppers, one for me and her and one for the boys and my stepdad, the boys are going to see that, right? My brothers, they're going to see that. They're going to notice, well, how come she's having a different supper than us, and how come it looks like that? And there's going to be speculation. There's going to be more teasing. The spotlight was more on me and my overweightness than anything, than even being healthy. I was encouraged to wake up early with her, to go running with her or do workout videos with her from a young age. I was probably around like 8 to 10 years old. And my brothers didn't have to do that. So it felt unfair. I think a different way she could have done it was maybe enroll me in certain activities if I needed to get my activity up, or teaching us healthy eating habits, talking to me about it. I feel like if my parents were more available to me and talk to me about certain things, it would make more sense. I felt like I was confused my entire life about what was happening. How come I'm growing so much bigger and my brothers aren't? I was angry with myself. I didn't like myself very much, especially getting teased and bullied a lot because of it. It doesn't make you like yourself. And how come I'm this way and everyone else isn't? There must be something wrong with me. I need to be better. I need to look better. And I feel like that's when the perfectionist in me kind of showed up. I think I was at the age of 12 when I had enough. Like, that was it. I'm not taking any more of this from anybody and myself. I wanted to feel good in my body. I wanted to look in the mirror and love myself and like what I looked like, and there was a lot of self-esteem issues and self-love issues. So at the age of 12, I don't remember when it was, but I took it upon myself and I decided to work out. And I started running up and down our long street, decided I didn't like that and what else I could do. Being so young with nobody teaching me any habits or, good habits or routines or anything, I had to figure it out on my own. I started looking through all of my mom's workout videos and started doing some and realizing which ones I liked and which ones I didn't like. I found one that just spoke to me, and it felt good doing it. And lo and behold, it was kickboxing video. I laugh about that now because kickboxing or any type of boxing, I love it. It gets my anger out, and punching the air and stuff like that. So being 12, filled with so much anger and hatred toward myself and other people, that was perfect. It was like, it wasn't too long, but I did it every single day. How I felt afterwards was strong and powerful and happy. And even though it takes a long time to lose weight as much as I did, that didn't matter to me. What mattered is how I felt, doing it. It was hard work. I can remember it right now in my parents' old house in their living room. I moved all of the furniture out of the way and I put it on and I would just do it. The feeling of being in control of your life and powerful is exactly what I needed to feel, because at that time I was very low and I didn't feel like I had my life in control. Like, I wasn't the main character of my life and I was taught to be pleasing everybody. And, at that time, being overweight and depressed and low self-esteem, I wasn't happy. The people around me needed me to be happy. so that they weren't uncomfortable in their life. When I became happy, I feel like the atmosphere was a bit lighter. When I did those videos, I felt finally like in control of my own emotions. Then I started seeing my weight drop, my clothes starting to be looser. Eventually, it starts to snowball into weighing myself. When I started weighing myself, that's when things started to slip very quickly. You start seeing the number on the scale go down, and you're just like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm on the right path. I'm going in the right direction, right? But then you start getting obsessed with it. Eventually, like, your weight fluctuates, especially as a girl or a woman, as we all know. And when I did see the scale go up, it was very confusing to me because I was doing all the right things, but nobody educated me about, the human body and what it all goes through. I didn't know. And so I was like, I must be doing something wrong. So that's when I started restricting my food and working out as well. Eventually it snowballs, right? And it goes fast. I started hearing people go, oh my gosh, Lia, you look so good. What are you doing? All the compliments are coming in. I'm finally getting the positive attention I've always craved, because growing up being quote unquote the problem child, it was a lot of negative energy, negative attention. For me to now be doing something for me, focusing on me and getting positive results, I'm getting positive attention, I'm going to keep doing that. How can I keep getting this positive attention? Well, I got to keep doing this, and I got to keep losing weight because it's pleasing everybody else around me too. Everybody else is happy. I look great. I feel great. I'm losing the weight. I need smaller clothes. Now I'm reaching the weight that's like the same as my best friend. Like, I am on the right path. But little did I know it was getting unhealthy. And nobody around me could think that it was getting unhealthy because I was looking healthier. But they didn't know how obsessive I was with going on the scale. Then I got to the point where I would eat something and then immediately weigh myself after, which, thinking back on it now, obviously you're going to be heavier because you're fueling your body, you're putting food into it, right? Then when I saw the number on the scale go up, that scared me. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to go back to that negative place. I don't want to go back to hearing, how disgusting I looked, or all the bullying and all the teasing. I didn't want to go back to that. So please don't let me go back there. There was a lot of anxiety with it and just stress involved, especially like in the morning when I would weigh myself. I'd be like, please have the number on the scale go down. I don't want it to go up. I don't want to go back to that place. I think it really started happening in grade 8, where I hit place in this weight loss journey that I was at the same weight as my friends. I was normal, quote unquote. I could fit the same clothes as them, but I was still not happy. I could still be smaller, and it was very obsessive. I started restricting my food, and it happened really gradually where you don't notice it. I started taking snacks out, or telling myself that I wasn't hungry. I don't think a lot of my family members thought that that was a bad thing, because she's just not hungry. She's not going to eat when she's not hungry, right? Until now, all of my snacks that I normally would have eaten are gone, and I'm left with 3 meals a day. And then eventually it goes, your breakfast goes. And so you haven't eaten anything till lunchtime. And then you restrict your food in your lunch. But my mom or my stepdad, like, they didn't know what I was eating at school or what I wasn't eating at school. I went all day not eating anything. It's very gradual. When you do that with your body gets used to not having the food so that it doesn't feel hungry. For a time when this happens, you lose your ability to feel hungry or full. And so I lost that without knowing. I lost that feeling. So I felt full all the time, or I felt not hungry all the time. And so I didn't think that was not normal. And so I kept saying, well, I'm just not hungry. I'm just not hungry. And there's a voice in my head, like it's a mental illness. Okay. it's just telling me you're still on the right path. You're doing the right things. Just take this out. Nobody's going to know. Just don't eat as much. And at dinner times, I still ate, but I would leave a little bit of food on the plate. Every day after that, I would leave a little bit more and a little bit more. Like an eating disorder is so sneaky, is the sneakiest mental illness I've ever encountered in my life, because you don't think that it's not normal. Oh, I'm just not hungry, or I'm just going to leave a little bit of food on the plate. Your brain gets sneaky and starts hiding the fact that you're going to work out. It starts hiding the fact that you're going to take this amount of food out. Or it starts finding ways in which you can work around so that people aren't going to know. So I had a classmate in grade 8, and she had gone through it. I didn't know that until she was hospitalized for it. And I think that's when our class found out. A lot of us were really shocked about it. When she came back, that's when I think I started getting my eating disorder. A lot of the things that I was doing were huge red flags for her. She kind of befriended me in that moment. But I saw it as an attack. I saw it as, oh, you're just projecting like what you went through onto me because it's still fresh in your mind, right? So I didn't think that what I was doing was a problem. So she was trying to help me and I was pushing her away. Anytime anyone gets in the middle of me and an eating disorder, the eating disorder, mental illness, gets really angry. I would go into confusion and anger and trying to push everybody away. I pushed a lot of my friends away, but there was also a lot of friends that didn't understand what I was doing. They didn't understand it and they were confused. They left anyways, or they kind of distanced themselves from me. The eating disorder became my entire life. That's all I cared about. I just cared about working out, not eating, and figuring out how I can not eat the next meal. I remember one part where my mom wanted me to eat a bowl of cereal. She just kept asking me. I was sitting in her bed and I just said, fine. So I ate it as a nighttime snack and had like tons of anxiety the whole time. Immediately went on the scale and I lost weight. That moment I can still remember it because in my brain, it was my brain. It wasn't the eating disorder brain. It was my brain, and it was like, shit, something's wrong here. If I'm eating and losing weight, how am I ever going to stop losing weight? Right? And it was a moment of like, something's wrong here. The scale should have gone up. And I think I asked a doctor about it, and she had said, like, I'm pretty sure that any food that entered my body, my metabolism was like, thank you, oh my gosh, and just would eat it up so fast that I ended up losing weight because of that, which is crazy to think about. But I think that was the moment I knew I was in trouble and I had a problem, and this is crazy. Another part of the eating disorder is you lose your sensation of feeling hungry at all, but you feel empty, and being as depressed as I was already empty feeling. So feeling the most empty was the best feeling for me. For some reason, I liked feeling empty. If I even drank water to fill up my body, I didn't like to feel full at all. So when you don't eat and you don't drink, you're not going to live for very long. I was cold all the time. So in the summertime, my brothers and everyone were walking around in shorts and t-shirts, and I was in sweats, complete sweatsuit. I was still cold, so I would put a blanket over top of me and walk around like I was a shell of me. I wasn't me. I wasn't happy. I wasn't joyful. I wasn't lively anymore. I was walking around the house, like moping around, like just low. Anybody wanted to talk to me, I just didn't have the energy for it. If I wasn't lying in my room sleeping or lying on the couch watching TV, I had no energy. I was just walking around. I only used up my energy to talk if it was absolutely needed. Like And if my brother wanted to talk to me about something that wasn't, in my opinion, that I wanted to use up my energy for, I would just walk away. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be anywhere, you know? That was a very sad part of my life. I remember going to the doctor's appointment before school and I had lost some more weight. I was well under 100 pounds now. She had told me, if you lose any more weight, you will be admitted to the hospital. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Whatever. I was angry. I'm like, you're just trying to punish me even more. I just didn't believe it. So I think it was like the next week I had lost 1 pound. And she's like, sorry, but you can't go to school. We are now going to bring you to the hospital and we will admit you into the hospital. That was the scariest. That was the scariest part of my life because I felt like I was going to jail. And I was being ripped away from my family, my home, triggering for me, being ripped away from my family and my home. So I didn't want any visitors. I didn't tell any of my friends. I just went to the hospital and that was it. I was angry. I didn't want my mom to visit. I didn't want anyone to visit me. I had a journal, and that was when I first started writing in a journal. And to look at it now is absolutely insane. Like to see all the anger. It was covered in swears. It was not a good time in my life. But also, I feel like eating disorders in that time was like taboo to talk about it. Nobody understood it. And everyone just thought that I did it on purpose. Nobody in my family really talked about it freely with anyone. They felt like I created it. When I just left school, nobody knew. I just didn't show up again. I missed my grade 8 grad, so I didn't go to that. I was in the hospital for 3 months. I met a lot of new people because I had roommates and it was in the pediatric floor. The nurses were amazing. I remember I started scrapbooking with some of the nurses there and they helped a lot during my stay. But even introducing food back into my diet was extremely scary. I needed counseling and therapy for that. I cried a lot. I felt like I was being forced into something that I didn't want to do and didn't realize that, I realized you need to eat to live, but I didn't realize it as well, right? During that time, my brothers didn't understand. I was just gone. My mom visited me every night. I remember one time she came and she said, you know what, I'm spending a lot of my time here with you. I think this was at the beginning. I'm spending a lot of my time here with you and you're angry and you don't want me here. So my brothers, or my real brother, he was angry at the fact that my mom had to spend all of her time at the hospital with me. When she said this thing to me, it was very hurtful and I didn't understand it. But when I was hurt as a kid and had painful experiences, I would just bury it. She had told me that I'm creating so much stress for the family with my eating disorder. To me, that, as young as I think I was like 12 or 13, knew that that was something wrong. Like, you shouldn't say that to somebody, especially they're in the hospital and they're going through it. If you're going through it and you have an illness, a mental illness, and that's what I don't think people understood, that it literally takes over your life. It's a mental illness. It's not that I just decided one day to stop eating. It was gradual. It was over time. It was very controlling. It controlled me. I didn't control it. It's as if you say to any other person who is sick with another illness that they can't help, that you're putting our family through a lot of stress, by doing this. And it's like, I can't help it. I'm sorry, but I can't help it. And I need help. And I need compassion. And there wasn't a lot of that growing up. There was no compassion for anything that we had to deal with growing up. Yes, kids are resilient, yeah, but they also need compassion. They didn't ask for all this stuff to happen to them in their life. They didn't ask for a divorce. They didn't ask to be switched houses. They will be resilient, yes, but they also need patience and time and compassion in order to get through it, just as the parents need to get through it. You know, that's what I took out of all of this for when I wanted to become a mother. Eventually, over the 3 months, I got better. I started eating and it was great, and I got discharged. I was at a healthy weight and I was able to go home. But they don't just let you go home. So they have like home visits to kind of get you back into the swing of things. They're called like day passes. I would go home for and have supper at home and see how that was, and then come back. And then the next day I would have a little bit longer time. And then I would have a full day pass where I'd leave in the morning. I would have breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack, and then go back and see how that was. Just that huge transition, right? Into like real life, as if like you're in jail and you need to transition into real life. That's essentially what it was. So when all that was done and I got to go home, I was happy because I wasn't stuck in a hospital for 3 months. I got to see my friends again, and I think it was the summertime. At that time, we had a house with a pool, and so I got to enjoy all that. But yes, I was healthy physically, but if you don't fix what's wrong in the house or what goes on in the house, it's going to happen again. I wasn't healthy mentally enough to be put back into the lifestyle that I was living in. I don't think that my doctors really looked at what was happening in the home and took that as heavy as she should have, because I think it was grade 10, so 2 years later, the same thing started happening, except where she didn't allow my body to lose as much weight as it did before she readmitted me into the hospital. So I went in grade 10. I went back into the hospital for 3 months for the same thing. They were a lot more concerned and they were a lot more strict with me. They took me aside at the hospital. The doctors, the therapists, and the nurses all took me aside and they said, "You need to get better. This is your last time coming to the pediatric floor." And they kind of scared me. The pediatric floor is for children. And I was almost getting to be, 18. I think I was like 16. And in 2 more years, if I got admitted again, I would not be in the pediatric floor with the nurses that, take the time to spend time with you and listen to you and play with you and scrapbook with you. You get to go to the adult floor, on the mental health floor, with a wide range of ages. It's all adults, right? So that scared me and scared me enough to figure it out so that it doesn't happen again. So I went to a doctor's appointment. She said, "We're admitting you." I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have anything where I could talk to my friends. I was just in the hospital, and I assumed that my parents would tell my friends if they had called, because I just didn't show up to school one day. I can just imagine how scary that would have been for any of my friends, and they just never heard from me again. Like, where did you go? My friend did tell me that she had called my house a bunch of times, and it being as taboo as it was in my house, they didn't tell her where I was. They just said, "Leah's not here at the moment," or "Leah's not here. She didn't go to school." "Oh yeah, she's not here." So what does that mean? And then I'm pretty sure, because I do remember talking to my friend on the payphone at the hospital. I'm pretty sure my mom had come visit me and said, "Your friend keeps calling. Can you call her and let her know that you're okay and where you are, and so they're not worried about you?" So I did. And it was nice being able to talk to somebody other than my family about what was going on. And I think that helped me a lot. I did become really close with my therapist. I saw her a lot. She followed me right up until I had my first son, I would call her. So I was very close with her. So she helped me through a lot of stuff. But yeah, if you don't fix what happens behind the scenes, your illness isn't going to go away. And it being a mental illness, it's not going to go away on its own. It just won't. I would say now that I am healed from it, but I do see at certain times in my life it creeping up, and but I know now, oh, that's just the eating disorder. I need to focus on me, and I know how to separate it now. But my entire life after those two incidents of being hospitalized, I was known in my family as Lia, she has an eating disorder. And so now you need to always watch her. Even though I figured out on my own how to control it, that it didn't ruin my life or control my life, I was always labeled as either the problem child or the person that has an eating disorder. Anywhere I went, if it was a family gathering, I always felt on edge around food because I was looked at under a microscope. Are you eating? How much are you eating? Are you eating enough? How come you didn't eat this? Even though in my 20s, it wasn't an issue, it followed me. It followed me forever. It got really annoying. And honestly, it still follows me to this day. I will meet some people out in public. They will either say certain comments thinking that it's okay to talk about my weight when really it isn't. I wouldn't talk about your weight. So why are you talking about mine? It's fine because I had an eating disorder. That's why you think it's okay. It's still hurtful to talk about my weight in front of me, whether you're saying I'm skinny or not. It's still hurtful. It's still very painful. I went somewhere in public and I had someone come up to me telling me that, oh my gosh, your skin and bones, you need to put some more meat on your bones. I am perfect weight, thank you. I spent a lot of my life trying so hard to not have this eating disorder creep back in. I work out and I eat healthy. I am not too thin. You know what I mean? Like uneducated people will say things that are hurtful and painful that I have to just deal with. And now I just shake my head and I can tell them like I don't appreciate you talking about my weight. Put in that boundary if it makes you feel uncomfortable for sure. But to know that they're uneducated and maybe they think that they're trying to help, I don't know. My eating disorder has followed me, still does my entire life. I still feel uncomfortable and you go back into that old headspace. If I go to like a family get together at like a birthday and there's cake, I can feel the eyes on me. Is she going to take a slice? If she doesn't, she must still have an eating disorder. It has nothing to do with maybe she's full from dinner, right? So yeah, growing up into now adulthood, I found what was healthy for me was I was very strict with my food though. I would, plan out what I was going to eat and I was very strict in that area, but I also did work out. So I fueled my body. I was also told that working out every single day is obsessive behavior and is very unhealthy. But in my brain and what I knew about me is that it wasn't unhealthy. If it makes you feel good to work out or move your body, daily movement is great. It is healthy. And I wasn't working out obsessively. Obsessively would be for hours and hours and hours, and then you go to work and then you work out again for hours and hours. That's obsessively, yes, but I wasn't doing that. At some point as an adult, I just had to be like, you know what? I'm doing this for me. I can't worry about what other people think. And this is my life. And this is what I feel like is healthy for me. Whether they want to work out daily or not, that's on them. But this is my life. When I was pregnant, I thought that the eating disorder would creep up again. But I was in a happy, healthy marriage that I didn't feel like I needed to restrict any food because I knew I was loved. So it didn't creep in. It crept in a bit at the end because I was I was 200 pounds. And I do remember my husband having to reassure me, like, hey, it's totally fine. You have a baby, you're growing a baby, and that's all we care about right now. Like, well, we care about you and your health, yes, but you are pregnant, you know? My doctor wasn't worried, and every time I would step on the scale, I was happy that my pregnant belly covered the scale. I couldn't see my feet, I couldn't see the scale, and I told my doctor, it's unhealthy if you tell me the number on the scale, so please don't do that and keep the number to yourself because I will become obsessed with it. So that was a good boundary that I put in. And I'm very proud of myself for doing that because I didn't know until like at the end where I kind of like one day I kind of looked at and it said like 200 pounds. And I'm like, holy. But I was like, I have a baby. I'm going to have a baby and everything's going to be well. But I do remember one thing standing out at my baby shower. It was in like February or March or something like that. And my baby was due at the end of March and he ended up coming in April. But I looked at those pictures and I was like, yeah, I was pregnant. My face was full, I was really big, but that's okay. That was okay. I was pregnant. Somebody that came to my baby shower did bring up to me in private my eating disorder, and maybe she was worried about me, but to me at the time, it was very not a place to be saying something like that. So I kind of took it personally because anywhere I went, whether I gained weight, lost weight, wanted this type of food or not, my eating disorder followed me. People would be concerned and take it upon themselves to give me their opinion or worry about me to the fact that they don't want me to go down that bad path again, I guess. But there is a time and there is a place to be saying certain things. And at my baby shower, it's definitely not one of them. So that has stuck with me for a long time. But yeah, after I had my baby, it wasn't an issue. It was a non-issue for me. And that's when I realized that I actually was healed from it, and I slowly I ate when I could and I worked out when I could. I was not obsessive about it. That's when I knew it was in the clear, and I was very proud of myself because that was a huge hurdle to get over. I think it was after my second baby, I joined Beachbody because I was sick of doing the same workouts all the time. When I joined a specific group and they started saying the same things as me, that it's normal to move your body daily and it's healthy to move your body daily, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am being seen right now. And they're not telling me that it's unhealthy. I'm not obsessive about it, and they're not obsessive about it. It's healthy. I just felt like I was in the right place and it was the right time to meet these people. And they were like basically telling me what I was telling other people, that it's okay to do that. You're not wrong if you want to work out every day. It's not a bad thing. And I think that it made other people uncomfortable when I would work out every day because maybe they didn't want to. I don't know. But it definitely, I knew by joining Beachbody and by joining a specific group and meeting these people, it definitely helped me and it helped my mindset. I learned so much from this group of being healthy. I started doing journaling again, and that just helped my mindset like 100 times more. And I just started becoming more healthy in my mind. I was healing my mind and my body. I was feeling so good that's how you're doing the right thing. You're basically winning at life. So from all of that, like, I don't blame myself at all for how I chose to survive my childhood. I used to blame myself for getting an eating disorder, but I don't anymore. That was me surviving. I had to figure out how to survive my at-home life that wasn't the greatest for me. It was just me being unhappy. And I think it was just a red flag for people involved in the house to be like, hey, something's wrong here and we need to fix it, or else people are really going to get injured here. And I don't think that was actually noticed. I think everyone just focused on the eating disorder more than what was happening in the house because it never really fixed itself, and I had to figure it out. And that was just me trying to survive. And nobody taught me how to deal with stress and grief. As a child, you're going to do it in the ways that help you. So in the ways that helped me was at first eating. Okay, I'm stressed out. I need to eat. And I binge ate, and I would lie about it and be sneaky. And then the eating disorder was sneaky as well. So in my opinion, don't blame yourself for how you chose to survive in your life. Like, this is your first time doing life. And what you needed to do in order to survive is what you needed to do. I would just give so much compassion to your little self. We did what we thought was best for us in the time, right? So trust your intuition and how is best for you to navigate your life. The only thing that we can do is try to be 1% better every day.
Thank you for joining me on Navigating the Mess. Hopefully some of this resonated with you. If so, please hit the like and subscribe button or leave a comment. I would love to share the comments every episode. See you next week, same time, same place.